Hello, welcome to another video. It feels like I haven't sat down to film a video in a really long time. I seem to just be vlogging at the minute. But here we are, sat in the library for a list of my current top 10 middle grades. It's no secret that I love middle grade books. I read a lot of middle grade books, and I've been meaning to put together a list of my favourites and finally got around to doing that. So that's what we're going to go through today. I worry that this may come across as a bit repetitive because they're my current top 10 favourites. I've spoken about them before. I've probably spoken about them a fair bit before, and some of them are series that I've read, you know, a lot of. Might be a bit repetitive if you watch all of my videos and you know my favourite middle grades, but nonetheless, I'm going to take you through my top 10. These are not in any particular order. I'm not ranking them from like 10 to my top 1. It's just 10 of my current favourites. Let's just get on with it. I will get the polar fantasies out of the way first because they're the ones I probably have spoken about the most. So let's kick this list off with one you've heard me talk about many times before, and that is The Polar Bear Explorers Club by Alex Bell. This is a middle grade polar fantasy about a young girl called Stella Starflake Pearl, whose adopted father is an explorer in the Polar Bear Explorers Club, and she desperately wants to join the Explorers Club, but no girls allowed. But of course, that wouldn't be much of a story, so she manages to weave her way into the Polar Bear Explorers Club and goes on a wild adventure, meets a group of amazing friends, and they discover all sorts of bizarre creatures, including carnivorous cabbages. Yes, you hear that correctly. Carnivorous cabbages. It's one of my favourite things to highlight about this book because it's just so wacky, but I love it. This book is so atmospheric, like the polar fantasy vibes. It's one of those books that really solidified my love for polar fantasy because the atmosphere is so incredibly strong. You can so vividly see the Arctic areas that they're exploring. In this particular one, they go to the coldest part of the north and discover what's there. And then in the second and third book, because it is a trilogy, they explore different areas of the Arctic region and discover all sorts of weird and wonderful creatures and people. It's also a bit of a journey of self-discovery. Stella learns a lot about herself and a lot about friendship. It really does highlight the childlike journey of becoming friends and seeing past people's differences and coming together and looking out for each other. Oh, it's just so beautiful. I love this trilogy a lot. So it's Polar Bear Explorers Club, Explorers on Witch Mountain, and Explorers on Black Ice Bridge, and I have loved all of them, but I've spoken about them all many, many times. So if you have not picked up this trilogy, I really recommend that you do. Next up is Northchild, again a polar fantasy because I love my polar fantasy, and this is one of the first middle grades that I ever gave like 5 stars. This absolutely blew my socks off. I loved this so much. This follows a young girl called Rose, whose mother is very superstitious about the birth direction, which is the direction in which she is facing when she gives birth to her child. And she's a bit superstitious about the fact that a North child is bad news. And the circumstances of Rose's birth, a little bit foggy. She may be a North child. Rose grows up being very adventurous and a bit of a pain to her family, and then one day she is whisked away by a talking polar bear. And I will not tell you any more than that because I don't think the blurb tells you any more than that. There was a lot in this book that took me by surprise that I really was not expecting, but I loved it so much. Again, the atmosphere is just so strong. That's something that's quite common in polar fantasies, or at least the polar fantasies that I've read. The atmosphere really does come through. It's very vivid. You can see and feel the like chilly atmosphere. I love it. This book is something special. And another one is The Eye of the North by Sinead O'Hara. I read this one probably the longest time ago out of all of the ones on this list, but it still stays with me. It's one that I remember because it's one of the first middle grades I think I read where the danger is very real. Like, the threat is very real. Like, not just big baddies gonna get you, like being chased through the streets by a woman with a gun. This book follows Emmeline, whose parents have disappeared, and she's put on a voyage to a new guardian, and she meets a young boy called Thing, and they end up on a wild adventure slash quest to stop an evil scientist from waking the mysterious beast in the north, which is the Kraken, who has some sort of immortality powers. It was wild, and I loved it. Again, atmosphere very strong. Emmeline, such a fantastic female protagonist, like so kick-ass and so like looks after herself and on this journey to find her parents or find what's happened to her parents, which may link in with this evil scientist who's trying to awaken the Kraken. It was just wild, and I did love it an awful lot. And that mixed in with the fact that the danger in this feels very real. It's very on the edge of your seat. Oh, I loved it a lot. And it is one that has stuck with me. And then, of course, we have The House with Chicken Legs by Sophie Anderson. This is such a beautiful story. Sophie Anderson's writing is fantastic, and I love her storytelling, and I love like Slavic folklore vibes and Russian fairy tales, etc. So House with Chicken Legs, Baba Yaga, I'm totally there for this. The folklore is strong in this one. I adore it. So this follows a young girl called Marinka whose grandmother is Baba Yaga, and her destiny is to follow in her grandmother's footsteps to become the next Yaga to guide the dead through into the, like, after, or whatever they call it. But Marinka does not want that for herself. She wants to control her own destiny. She wants to be able to stay in one place and not have a house with chicken legs that runs off whenever she gets comfortable anywhere. She wants to put down roots. So it is Marinka's journey of self-discovery, family, love, etc. It's just beautiful and I adore it. And whilst we're on the topic of Sophie Anderson, the girl who speaks bear is also here as well. I love this story too. Again, follows a young girl who goes on a journey of self-discovery. This one follows Yanka, who lives with her adoptive grandmother, I want to say, and she is bullied in the village because she is bigger than everyone else. She is bigger, she is stronger, she is taller, and people think that's a bit weird, so they call her Yanka the Bear. This is just a nickname because she's big and strong. However, she wakes up one morning with bear legs. She's always felt some sort of call to the forest, and she goes on a journey into the forest to discover where she really came from, why she's got bear legs, and what is going on. So yeah, that is also beautiful. I love the way that these also kind of like interweave. I don't think they're a series, it's not like a sequel, but almost like a companion duo sort of thing. But yeah, the way Sophie Anderson weaves like mythology and stories into her stories, I love. I think they're absolutely gorgeous books and completely recommend both of them. Next up we have City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. This one is City of Ghosts. It's the first one in the Cassidy Blake series. Of course we have Tunnel of Bones as well, which I also love. This series follows Cassidy Blake, who had a very near-death experience as a youngster and now lives a life on the edge. She is able to pull back the veil to step between the worlds of the living and the dead, and her best friend is a ghost. This one takes place in Edinburgh. It is very atmospheric. I love it. I love the fact as well that it's somewhere that I know, so I like know the locations, like I've seen them because I've been to Edinburgh, funnily enough. It's also Schwab, and I may be a little bit biased because I absolutely adore everything that Victoria Schwab has produced, but I love this as well. Cassidy and Jacob's friendship is beautiful, and also the story, like, it's easy to read, it's compelling. I think I read this in one sitting both times I've read it. So Cassidy's parents are like ghost hunters, like they do a book series on like the myths behind the ghosts and the history behind them, and they are given a TV deal, and Cassidy and her parents have to go on this trip to their first filming location, which is Edinburgh, which happens to be one of the most haunted cities in the world. Things get a little bit intense for Cassidy, who can feel that veil where the ghosts are strong. It gets a little bit dangerous, and she discovers some interesting things that she did not know about her ability to slip between the veil. But yeah, I love this. I love Schwab. I love Schwab's writing, and I cannot wait for the next book in this series. I'm really into it. So creepy, ghosty, wonderfully written. And with creepy and ghosty, the next one is Potkin and Stubs. This is the first book, The Haunting of Pelican City. It is a trilogy that is now complete. I have not yet read the third book in the trilogy. I really need to get on that. But this series follows a young girl called Lil Potkin who desperately wants to be a reporter and discover the next big scoop. Little does she know it could be sitting opposite her at the all-night bus stand. I'm pretty sure that's how the blurb actually goes. But Lil meets Nedley. Nedley happens to be a ghost. Here comes the creepy vibes again. So Lil and Nedley team up to be this little reporter duo to get to the bottom of some mysterious happenings in Pelican City. It is a creepy one. I really like it. It's again one where the danger is very real. It doesn't just feel like big bad guy's gonna get you, like it's risky, and I love that. And also something that I love about this is that it's not just two kids teaming up to do something that the adults never could. There is adult involvement in this, which I think is very uncommon. This is brilliant and Lil is great. I think Lil is a flawed protagonist, like she can sometimes be a bit mean and a bit stubborn, but she's a child and I think she comes across as a child that's trying to fill boots that are too big for her sometimes, and I think it's brilliant. I think it's really well done. The atmosphere and the vibes, the creepiness really comes through in this. I absolutely adore it, and Sophie Green is a fantastic woman. So this series, very much recommended as well. Now, would it be a top 10 middle grade list if I did not mention Nevermore by Jessica Townsend? This is fantastic, but everyone raves about this one, so I don't want to go on about it too much. But the story follows Morrigan Crow, who is destined to die on her 11th birthday. However, as that's about to happen, she is whisked away to the world of Nevermore by a very eccentric man called Jupiter North. He is wacky and I love him. Morrigan is then set to go through some trials to determine her fate, and it's magic and wild and crazy and beautiful, and despite how wacky and nonsensical it is, it makes sense and it feels real, and I love it a lot. Morrigan, again, is a fantastic character. She feels very real. She feels quite flawed as well, like she's a child and she comes across that way. But I absolutely love this so much, but everyone does. So is that really a surprise to anybody? Probably not. Next up, I have the Perfect Trilogy by Helena Duggan. This trilogy was great fun from start to finish. I've picked up the third book because I think it's my favourite one out of all of them, but this goes from being, in the beginning, it follows a young girl called Violet, and her family moves to a town called Perfect. Her dad is an optician or something of that sort, and they move to this town called Perfect where everyone has to wear these goggles or glasses even, because when they move there, they start to go blind. And Violet is a bit weirded out by this, and as you would be, and kind of goes on the journey of working out the mystery behind why and what is going on, because something in this town is fishy. It does not add up. And she meets a young boy called Boy, and they, between them, are trying to crack this and work out what the bloody hell is going on. It's very bizarre. But that's just the mystery of the first one. As the series goes on, it gets weirder. And by the last book, there's a zombie army. But I'm not going to tell you how you get to that point because that would spoil it. But yeah, so it follows Violet and Boy on these wild mysteries to work out what the bloody hell is going on in Perfect, because it's far from perfect, and something fishy is going on. And last but by no means least is A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. This is another beautiful story with all sorts of magic and whimsy going on in there, and it's just gorgeous. This was recently a middle grade monthly pick, so there is a whole live stream that me and Gavin did with Michelle Harrison on this series. So far it is A Pinch of Magic and A Sprinkle of Sorcery, but I believe there shall be more. And these books follow three sisters, Betty, Fliss and Charlie. In the first book there is a curse and they are trapped on this island and they do not want to be, or more so Betty does not want to be. So they try and work out how they can break this curse, and they stumble across magic, magical items, magical stories, history of what's gone on and all sorts, and it is just beautiful. But again, it's one where danger feels very real. I was on the edge of my seat for certain parts of this, like it felt very real, and then the sequel is just absolutely gorgeous as well. More magic, more like stories interwoven with it, and these characters feel very real as well. Charlie especially, I say Charlie is my sister, like it just is such a perfect comparison between Charlie and my sister, which makes Charlie feel very real to me. But likewise, Betty and Fliss, like their characteristics are so strong and they just feel very real, and they are all very flawed characters. But the beautiful like family tie between them it's just gorgeous. And then put in all that magic and that whimsy and the wild adventure they go on to break the curse and so on. It's just incredible. So another fantastic middle grade book that I've spoken about many times. So there we have it. There is my current top 10 middle grade list in no particular order because I love all of them. However, I will highlight, I expect this list to change. I am always discovering new middle grade books, reading many more. Of course, with Middle Grade Monthly, we're reading at least one new one every month, so I expect this list to grow and change. I'm a fan of middle grade, and I look forward to finding more fantastic ones. So if you have any recommendations for some middle grade that you think I would love based on the fact that this is my current top 10, please drop them down below. I am always going to be on the lookout for more. So yeah, if you've read any of these and you want to talk about any of these or gush about any of these, then please do so down below because I love them all. But yeah, that's it for this list. Thank you very much for watching, and before I drop all these, I will see you in the next one. Bye!